Good evening, and welcome to Season 3 of the Press Box. I am Lieutenant Governor Tregenza Roach, your host for this episode. Yesterday, Governor Albert Bryan Jr. held a press conference in which he introduced to the Virgin Islands community our administration's choice to lead the Virgin Islands Department of Education as we continue its transformation. I am pleased to have with me the Commissioner nominee for the Department of Education, Dr. Dion Wells Hedrington, for her first interview since that announcement. This evening we will discuss her vision for public education in the territory, her message for parents and students as we begin the 2022-2023 school year, and what's next in the department's plan for rebuilding the public school infrastructure. Commissioner Wells Hedrington, welcome to the Press Box.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Roach. It is really my pleasure to be here with you this evening.
Good. I'm happy to be doing this interview. You know, we go back far.
Very far.
Very far. And I always consider myself as a member of the education family. I worked at the Department of Education from 1995 to 2003.
Okay.
And I think at that time you were a teacher.
Correct.
Please share some of your background with our
Okay, so I started my career in education in 1993 at Julius C. Sprouse School on St. John. I am a native St. Johnian, and most of my educational career was in St. John. I began teaching biology at Sprouse School. Then Sprouse School ranged from kindergarten to 9th grade. So I taught 8th and 9th grade, and then I transitioned as low as 6th. I taught for 10 years, and in my 8th year, I decided that I wanted to do something more impactful, and I started to look into leadership. And then there was an opportunity to take classes at the University of the Virgin Islands, and the department paid for my master's degree, and I was able to earn that in 2003 in supervision and instruction. And then that just boomeranged my career in leadership.
Ascending.
Yes.
Now I remember you at UVI.
Yes,
University
correct.
of the Virgin Islands.
Yes.
And I had you in my public education law course.
Yes.
And you know, trust me, I still remember the students from each of those classes.
You do?
Yeah, because the classes were small.
Correct.
Right? And they were 3 hours in length. So we had a lot of opportunity to engage.
We did.
And I remember you in that class, very inquisitive, very detail-oriented, and I know that you bring all of that
Still.
to this work at the Department of Education.
Correct.
You come into the department in an election year, you come in after the removal of a commissioner, and I think people are looking to you and thinking about what is the vision that Dr. Wells Hedrington brings to this position, and why would she even put herself in this path at this moment in time? So I know it must have given you pause as you thought through the choice before you. Share with us your thoughts about taking the helm of the department at this time.
Well, you know, just as you mentioned, a lot of people, family and friends, questioned my decision to take the helm at this critical time. And I said to them, I am a praying woman. I take everything to the Lord in prayer, and this is a mission for me. This is a calling, and although it may be a political season, I do not operate in fear. I walk in faith, and it's more than me. It's about the children of these Virgin Islands. And so I stepped out in faith, and I looked at the whole Department of Education and the journey and the trajectory that I've taken. And I'm like, I am fully prepared. I know every facet of the Department of Education. I've done the curriculum and instruction side, and now I know the facilities and infrastructure side. So I really have a holistic view of the department. What better way to use all of that expertise than to lead?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, when I think about you, I really think of it's almost like the perfect example of a person who takes opportunity, in some cases is given opportunity, but takes opportunity to move through the ranks of the department. And on all those levels, from teaching to administration, to then for those people who are perhaps under a rock and who haven't seen you all over the legislature and all over the place, tell them what the most previous title.
My
before.
most previous title was Chief Operations Officer. So I dealt with all of the facilities issues, the new school project, working with the federal partners to secure funding for the much needed repairs of our facilities. And so, like I mentioned before, that has really opened my eyes, because when you're on the instructional side, the teaching and learning side, you want things done just like that.
Just like that.
And it was an eye-opener for me coming on the other side now and realizing that everything is a process. You got to do assessments first. You have to develop scopes of work. You have to put things out to bid. Sometimes the bids aren't responsive. You got to put them back out again, and that takes time. So all the times that I may have squawked as a principal because things just were not happening fast enough has given me a different appreciation for the men and women who work in that side of the Department of Education.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think people would probably think, well, a person who has had the opportunity to serve in so many capacities in this department would have, at this point, developed a vision, a sense of a vision where they see the department going. If you were asked what your vision for the Virgin Islands Department of Education is, what would you share with us?
Well, we just started to do some extensive work on our strategic plan, and the vision that we have formed as a group is to transform today's learners into tomorrow's leaders. And as I mentioned to you before we began this session, children have to be at the forefront of everything that we do. And so for me, once we keep our eyes on them, then everything that we do will be surrounding them. So when I look at public education, I have to say I am public education proud. I am a proud product of the public education system. And a lot of times we take a lot of flack. But if you look around the community, most of the people in leadership went through the public school system. And so one of the things that I would like to see under my leadership is the reforming of the public education system, of us introducing new things in the world of teaching and learning, doing indoor and outdoor learning, bringing more partnerships with industries or businesses around, exposing our students to the real world. And one of the things that I realize in this department that it's so critical in forming relationships with the stakeholders, internal and external. So we're reforming public education, but in that process, we're also rebuilding, because now we're changing the infrastructure. We're improving our learning spaces, and then we get to rebrand. And in the rebranding is where that trust in public education will come back, and that is my vision for public education.
Beautiful. And I think in that vision, what role do you see the parents playing?
Oh, the parents are critical. They are our stakeholders, and a lot of times they don't have a voice. And that's one of the things that I would love our parents to realize, is that you have power. You get to say when things aren't working right. You get to voice things that you want to see in public education. So I want to invite parents to be more actively engaged in what's happening in their child's school.
Now, I'm curious. One of the things, two things you made me think about. One, in the conversation about parents, it made me reflect on the fact that you come from an education family.
Oh, yes.
Because as I recall, your mother was also deputy superintendent of schools, correct? Around what time was she in the department?
She retired in 1995, so I would say between 1992 to 1995.
Okay, so
around that time.
I came on just as she had left.
Yes.
And the discussion about curriculum, some people in thinking about the curriculum of our schools, wonder if they reflect our reality in this Caribbean space, this territorial space, etc. Are there things that you think about with regard to curriculum that might be added or changed? Or do you have any thoughts on curriculum at all?
Well, the Department of Education has just achieved a major milestone throughout this administration. Many times we've been questioned about the curriculum, about aligning our standards, making them culturally relevant. And I'm happy to report to the community that our standards and our new curriculum has been approved by the board. Mm-hmm. And so now we're in the process of doing textbook adoptions. But one of the things I want to say to the community, because often VI history and it being taught in the elementary years come into question. And as a former principal, Virgin Islands history wasn't taught in the elementary school, in schools in an isolated class. Mm-hmm. It's cross-curricular. And so we would have opportunities where members of the community, culture bearers, would come in and do presentations to our students. The teachers would infuse VI history into whatever they're teaching. Could be science, could be social studies, could be English, any discipline. Mm-hmm. And so we've had that exposure in all my years, and now we're able to actually incorporate the Virgin Islands history into our standards across the discipline. Okay. So as we review those, the community will be able to see the work that was done by the department.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Mm-hmm. This is a very popular program, so we actually have commercials.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to take a break.
No problem.
And we'll be right back. Please don't go too far. We want to keep you in this conversation.
I think today we have a commissioner that takes on a department with good experience, well-wrought education, and a deep, deep passion for the children of the Virgin Islands. That is why I am so proud today to announce Dr. Dion Wells Hendrington as the next Commissioner of Education in this Virgin Islands.
Again, here in the carpentry shop, we repainted the walls, fixed the drop ceiling, and we also did repairs on the exterior door. We changed out the exterior door to a nice commercial door, and we did some structural repairs to one of our columns in this area. That's the extent of in this room, which was pretty good. So not much, but enough to make it bright and welcoming for students and staff. And here in one of two family and consumer science classrooms, we created 2 kitchen workstations. Here, teachers will be able to have our students practice what they learn. We have space for a range, refrigerator, we have the exhaust hoods. This room is nearing completion and would be completed for our new school year. This is something that the teachers have been waiting on, and we're happy to have it ready for our 2023-2024 school year. This has been a VID Maintenance Minute.
Welcome back to our conversation with Education Commissioner nominee, Dr. Dion Wells Hendrington. Dr. Wells Hendrington, before we went to break, you were explaining about the ways in which VI history and culture is infused into the curriculum. And you reference standards, and sometimes I just want to be clear that you and I know what you mean, But could you just explain for our audience what the reference to standards?
So standards is a playbook or a blueprint of what teachers are expected to teach, what students are expected to learn. And so when we set standards, we have consistency across all schools in terms of what students are learning and what teachers are teaching. And so one of the things that we made sure that we did in the new adoption of our standards and curriculum alignment is to make sure that that component was culturally relevant.
Okay, beautiful.
Yes.
Now, during the break, the clip that was shown
Yes.
would have been some references to maintenance.
Yes.
And that every year we have this question about what's happening in the summer and how are schools being prepared to be ready for our students. So share with us a little about the readiness of schools to receive students this year. And tell us about your challenges as well, because we know that it's not a bed of roses, right?
It's not a bed of roses. So as you're aware, LT, our campuses are aged. So we have 27 of 32 campuses that are past their life cycle, 40 years. And so a lot of the work that our maintenance division is doing is really trying to rehab and keep alive those buildings until we're able to repair them permanently or replace them in some cases. And so from any given day, we may have an emergency that we never predicted. And I've heard a lot of conversations around preventative maintenance, but it's really very hard in some cases because we don't know what to expect because of the age of the facilities. So one of the things that I want the community to understand that it's not summer maintenance anymore. It's ongoing maintenance because they're projects that are going to begin in the summer and continue throughout the school year, depending on the complexity of what that project is. So we've been doing work. We did receive listings of things that needed to be done in our schools. We prioritized and we have been shooting scopes out. But as you mentioned, with everything, there are challenges. So one of the things that we're finding now is we are not having responsive bidders. That contractors are limited here, and every single department has some type of construction project taking place. So you're picking from a limited pool, and then we have issues with bonding, we have issues with paperwork, and so sometimes we come across hindrances, like I like to call them, but which delay the work in some cases, but we've been working through that. And in my walkthroughs, even as an educator, as a former principal, I have not seen anything that would prevent us from opening schools. Do I like how our campuses look overall? Well, I wish I could build new schools across this territory if it were up to me. But we have to continue to maintain what we have.
Okay. So if you, in speaking to parents who think about their children, their child's first day back on a school campus, what should they expect?
They should expect a welcoming environment. When I walked the campuses in St. Croix, because I was over there, the enthusiasm and the joy of the staff to be back in the building, I could feel that energy. And so I know that they're going to bring that energy to the opening of school as well. And I think that our students have been longing for face-to-face instruction and being able to socialize, having that interaction with the teacher face-to-face really makes a difference in the teaching and learning experience. And so I anticipate wonderful openings, welcoming environments, and enthusiastic teachers and administrators ready to greet our children.
Now, the same way that you talked about the challenge of finding adequate numbers of contractors for maintenance projects, etc., is really a very similar conversation in school personnel.
Yes.
So we know that all over the country there's this conversation about human capital. Are there enough teachers? Are there enough nurses? Are there enough other skilled professionals? So as we look at the Yeah, the buildings, that is one
One thing.
conversation. What about the readiness in terms of classroom coverage, paraprofessionals, etc.?
So during the summer months, the Department of Education has actually hired 100 teachers across the territory. We still have some vacancies. We anticipate more vacancies because people wait until the end of August
To retire.
or resign. And so since I've sat in this seat one day, I've received 2. And so we anticipate that we will receive more. And as they come in, we will have to adjust. One of the things that the superintendents did is a needs analysis where they looked at the classroom, the number of teachers in the buildings, how many students were in the classrooms. They consolidated in areas to maximize the human capital. And with the secondary schools, we now have an opportunity through the virtual academy to fill some of those gaps as we do our recruitment and retention process. So I am very confident to say that even if there is not a body in front of our students, we anticipate having those vacancies filled at least by the end of September. In the interim, as known, we have paraprofessionals in our schools, and they will take those classes in the interim. One of the things I want to ensure the public of, because I know that when a child comes into a school, every parent wants a teacher. You want a teacher. You want your child to maximize and all that instructional time. But one of the things that the department has been doing is making sure that our paraprofessionals are also trained, because it's important that they know the different teaching styles, that they're able to maneuver the resources in a way that's most effective for our children. And so as we go through and we see where we really are, I would say maybe like 2 weeks after the opening of school, we really have a true picture of how many teachers have separated and what we need to do in terms of maybe shuffling people if we need to. One of the good things I will say to you, LT, is that in the transformation process, we are doing a new initiative with our high schools. And we have aligned every high school. They're starting at the same time. They have a 5th period, which is a flex block that gives our principals some flexibility to address those learning loss issues and to provide outside opportunities that may not be available at that base school, and transport students to other schools to get classes in addition to the virtual possibilities. So the department is thinking outside of the box, and that's part of the vision of transforming, and that requires us transforming the way that we approach teaching and learning.
Okay, so just so that we're clear, that means that a student might go from Charlotte Amalia High School to Eudora-Ken, if that is a resource that is available there. Excellent. What about the substitute teacher pool in terms of dealing with the vacancies?
I'm hoping now with the new legislation that says that you can come back. I have actually met some people who I know are retired, and I asked, I said, since you can come back without it affecting your retirement, would you consider? And the feedback has been positive. So we're hoping to do some recruitment in that area as well. But we do have some individuals who are on the substitute pool, and the superintendents will be able to pull from that.
Yeah. You know, it's so interesting that I remember in my role as legal counsel to the Department of Education when I served, that very specific problem that I tell people all the time, the challenge of education is that the problems never go away. They are recurring. And so that same situation of teachers and other professionals retiring as soon as the school year begins is something that we were talking about in 1995, right? And now the same thing continues.
It's interesting that you said that. Before I came up to the press box today, I was looking at some data, and I always want to know what the separation rates are. Who in this department, how many people in this department are to that 30-year mark or over? We have over 300 people that can say today, I'm done. I'm done with y'all. Out of that 300 plus, like 150 plus are teachers. And so my vision is to see what I can do to make my teachers comfortable, give them the resources that they need so that we can encourage them to stay a little bit longer. And really work with the University of the Virgin Islands and even in our high schools to encourage our students to take the education track. Not many people are going into education anymore.
That's true. Yeah. I was at a conference with lieutenant governors, and I was a part of the conversation.
Not many people.
Even when we hosted a program with the valedictorians of the various high schools, and one young man asked that very pointed question because none of his peers want to go into public education. The challenge of a decent salary, the sacrifices that teachers make continuously, and other educators as well. It really poses a challenge
The
for
salaries are a little bit better.
Tell us about it.
Our teachers have received raises, so the starting salaries, I want to say between 48,000 and 49. When I started to teach, it was 20,000. And so, I mean, we've made great strides. I would really love to see it like Governor Bryan to 50 for new teachers, and then depending on if you have masters, you go up the ranks. And so we are making some strides to pay our professionals for their service. And so we will continue to advocate for that as well.
So normally people think that we're at the bottom. Where does our starting salary put us with regard to mainland jurisdictions? We're somewhere in the middle.
We're in the
right?
middle now.
Okay.
We're in the middle
So there are
now.
lots of places that,
Yes.
that the salaries
Some places
are
are
lower.
lower than us, correct.
I wanted to, as a part of the readiness conversation,
Okay.
I know we get a lot of calls about lunch, about school lunch and what happens, where the food is cooked, where the satellites are, whether they're adequate in terms of nutritional meals. Tell us a little about the school lunch aspect of it, because children can't learn if they're hungry.
That's right.
Tell us a
And
little about that.
School lunch program is thriving. I would say that we have two very innovative directors, School Food Authority directors, who have many ideas around expansion. One of the things that we have identified as an area that we have to work on is making sure that our cooks and our food service workers are trained. And they have ongoing training, like our teachers and paraprofessionals. And so we want to institute that this year, in addition to making sure that our meals are well balanced, that they are presentable, and that we tap into those kitchens that are thriving and use those individuals to help to support their colleagues as well. In terms of initiatives, I have a meeting coming up with Alison Degazan to talk about our farmers and how they could support our school lunch program. And so we're always looking for partnership and ways to improve what we provide to our students.
Okay, great. So I want to come to a school and have a lunch. Do I have to pay, or am I going? If I come, does that mean another student won't eat?
No.
Okay.
We
Because
do.
I want to test it out myself.
You want to test it? I want to
So,
come with you.
okay, good.
That day we're going to test it. When I was a principal, I ate school lunch every day.
Okay, great. We have a date, and we're going to go to another break, and we're going to come back. Please stay with us as we continue the conversation.
The U.S. Virgin Islands are in a region with high levels of vulnerability and threats for tsunamis. Here's some tips you should know. Listen for the sirens. It is important to understand the difference between an advisory, a watch, a warning, and an information statement.
If you're in a coastal zone area and notice a dramatic recession in water from the shoreline, move inland immediately and do not return until officials say it's safe to do so.
A tsunami can happen at any given moment, often without notice. Know your map and the nearest evacuation route and stay in the know.
Stay informed, stay prepared, and stay vigilant. Visit Vitema's website at vitema.vi.gov for more preparedness tips.
The more we know, the more we grow.
We're expecting a strengthening storm as it makes landfall. The right side.
Hey, babe. I listened to the radio and they said it's stopping strong.
Well, the house and lockdown and all the shutters are off. You should probably go check on it.
Okay, I think that's a good idea.
Alright, let's go.
So
So you don't know we don't think our roof, we take care of everything we need to take care of.
Oh, we gotta check on Becca.
Oh, what you done to? Rebecca! You good?
Oh, hi. I'm okay.
We know you're expecting soon. We come to check on you.
Yes, I talked to my doctor. We have a plan.
Okay, no problem, man.
Take care. Bye.
Miss Carmen, you good?
Yeah, let somebody come and check on me.
All right, take care. Michelle. Evening. You ready for tonight? I know you went through a hard time last year with a hurricane, you know? If you want, you can come and stay away.
You know, I'm feeling nervous, so I'm gonna come tough it out with you, okay?
Welcome back to our conversation with education nominee, Dr. Dion Wells-Hedrington.
Yes.
Dr. Wells-Hedrington, I gotta keep the two names right again.
Yes.
I'm tempted to say Dr. Wells, tempted to say
That's
Dr.
okay.
Hedrington. Okay. I'm even tempted to say Dion.
Okay.
Okay. You shared two things that I wanted to get a little bit more detail on.
Okay.
You referenced the virtual academy, and one of my questions really that I wanted to understand was we made quite an inroad in terms of providing students with computers, internet access, etc., as we face the pandemic and virtual learning. And I wanted to know, how is that going to be reflected in our approach to education now, and how that ties in with the virtual academy, if it does, as you reference?
Okay, so infusing technology into our teaching and learning experience is customary across the territory. Through our COVID experience, we were able to purchase laptops for all of our students, which really assisted us in the virtual schools that we had during the pandemic. One of the things that I need to speak to the community about was the buzzing about the technology fee that schools were imposing upon registration and orientation. We have since rescinded that fee. And that discussion really came about because we are struggling with our technology and maintaining it. A lot of the devices were damaged during that era, and the insurance that the department had did not include cosmetic repairs. Okay. And so the superintendents were left with holding that bag and repairing the devices. Our goal is to keep a device in every child's hands, but we need our parents to assist us in helping our children to be a little bit more responsible because we need the technology to last. So now that we've gone back to face-to-face, we always have the flexibility of using those devices for virtual learning experience, whole group instruction, whatever the teachers want. And so we will continue to have that ongoing through the school year.
Okay, so I'm just curious, since we are still in the pandemic, in the instances when children may test positive for COVID and they have to be quarantined, is virtual instruction going to continue in those instances? Is it?
That would be a decision based on each school administrator. The option is there. One of the things I want to mention about the technology before I forget is that the department had an opportunity to apply for an emergency connectivity fund, and we approved. And so that means that the Department of Education eventually, as we do our cost share portion, would be able to put a device in every student's hand along with every teacher in this territory, and it will be theirs. It was a one-time grant, and we went for it, and we were approved for it. So we're really excited about that. But when it comes to making decisions relative to a child who may test positive, it may vary from campus to campus, and those decisions really will be based on the site-based administrator, the principals, and how they want that to look.
Well, congratulations on that grant.
Yes.
And I also want to congratulate you and the administrators and the accreditation committees at, in particular, 2 schools in the territory, because we have a tendency to point to whatever is wrong. But in a pandemic, and with all that's going on with our schools, Central High School and Charlotte Amalia High School retain their accreditation. And I really think that they need to be commended for that.
They should. Kudos
That's
to
a lot of work.
Right, it is, especially with limited resources and the adjustments that we had to make at that time. Kudos to those schools, to the instructional staff, to the teams, to everyone that participated in that process.
They
should be commended.
Absolutely. Now, I want to switch gears just a little bit.
Sure.
Maybe in June, early in June, my class got a call, and they wanted us to gather as many as we could, the members of our class, to come to the Charlotte Amalia High School and take a picture before the demolition of that facility.
Yeah.
And it was really a nostalgic kind of feeling, because buildings, whether it's a house that you grew up in, or
it has value to you.
You know, it has value. It has all these memories contained in it. You can envision yourself going up those steps for the first time.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So tell us now about the infrastructure, about partly what you've been doing and the vision for the facilities moving forward.
So you know that my work is very near and dear to my heart. And even in this new capacity, I've made it quite clear that I am going to continue to advocate for the funding. I think it's very critical to the success of our students, and our staff really deserve to work in suitable environments that really promote that teaching and learning experience for the students. So we are really going through the costing process with FEMA. Today I was in a meeting with the Office of Disaster Recovery, and never really reflected on the fact that I've been in this process for quite some time. As superintendent when the storms hit, I've been working with FEMA, and now in this capacity, I am still working with FEMA. What keeps me up at night? Well, I think we could have been further along. I would have really liked to start building a school personally. But I understand it's a process. So far we only have costing for one site, which is the new Arthur Richards Pre-K to 8 at the Evelyn Williams site. And so within the next couple of weeks, we are going to start to demolish that site. That's a big deal. Over here in St. Thomas, we are going to demolish buildings A, B, and C. And I promise to all the mighty chicken hearts and all of my St. Croix family that we will, have press conferences before we do that to inform the public, because we understand the sentimental values that schools play in people's lives. And so right now at Charlotte, we are going through the asbestos abatement process, all the permitting and so forth that is required. Charlotte Amalia High School is a little bit different. We had to hire an archaeologist because there may be artifacts under the buildings when we start to demolish. And part of our requirements with DPNR and our federal partners is that we have persons there just in case there are artifacts that need to be preserved.
Is there any plan for them? When you said artifacts, you made me remember Tutu Park Mall.
Yes.
And when they excavated and the native remains.
So we have to make sure that that's not there. And so we're going through the procurement process right now to get an archaeologist on board that will go step by step with the contractor when that demolition process starts. Many want to know when. I would say maybe we are out maybe 2 months before that starts.
Okay. I remember going on a tour with you, coming back to the new facilities. We did a walk through at the Skill Center.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about the features of that facility that really would become a norm for other facilities, so that almost like a master plan. And you led us through that. So share with us some of those elements.
Okay, so Whitley Center is actually our first modernization project, and so we wanted to be able to display some of what we've been speaking on to the public about flexible walls, about the fact that we need more natural light Prior to working with this process, I didn't realize the impact that natural light really has on learning. And so this year we're about to engage in a study that's being conducted by an independent partner who wanted to come in. They donated the furniture and they wanted to do a study to see how our students respond, how does the furniture impact teaching and learning. And so that information or that data that we gather from that will help to drive what we put in the new Arthur Richards, because we want to make sure that the furniture complements what we want to see in the vision forward for our schools. So it's a big deal. If you haven't been to Whitley Skills Center, call me up. I will take you on a tour, because I want the public to be aware of what the future looks like. Yes.
In terms of education.
Yes.
And you know, when I went to that reopening, and we were talking specifically about what new facilities mean to children, to young people. Because I remember going to Charlotte Amalia High School when the building B, now I'm dating myself now.
Wow.
They added, no, C, I'm sorry, not B. B was a history.
B was there?
I don't want to say that, that's when I went. They added C when I was in the 10th grade.
Okay.
And we were so excited about the fact that we were going to have a new building in which instruction was going to take place. It's exciting for all of us.
It is.
So I think we do a lot for young people when we tell them through the places, the venues that we conduct education about how we treat them and what we offer.
And you know, that's so critical, because a lot of times we implement different strategies that we want to see in our classrooms. And I remember telling my teachers, I want to see more collaboration in your teaching experiences with the children. I want you to partner with your teacher next door. But the facility never facilitated that. The students would be cramped up in one classroom with two facilitators. So now we have the flexible walls, and so we're able to open 3 classrooms to be one teaching experience for all the students in a particular grade level. So it's an exciting time, and now the infrastructure will lend and add value to the teaching and learning.
So tell me, you don't run into any union issues when you do that? That they say the classroom too big, or there are too many students, or?
No, because there are 3 facilitators in there. So it's just a collaborative effort.
Just being sure.
No, I won't violate any union contracts. I'm actually hoping to bridge all of that disconnect between the unions, because stakeholder engagement is critical.
Very good, very good. Now, when we talk about building the new schools, we get people excited.
I am.
And when we talk about 149 million for one school, right? But give us a timeline so that we don't have people sitting on your steps waiting for the new school to reopen next year.
When we demolish Evelyn Williams, for example, it would take about 3 years for the new Arthur Richards to be fully built. It could be longer, it could be shorter, depending on the supply and demand, and of course the timeline in which the contractor operates. We're very optimistic. I made a pledge to myself, to my family. I'm not going to retire until I build these 3 schools: Arthur Richards, Charlotte Amalie High School, Julius Sprouse School on St. John.
Julius Sprouse School on St. John.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now that has been in the conversation for a while.
A while.
And it's heating up.
It's heating up.
Right.
But it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time. It's been a conversation for about 30 plus years. I've sat in various capacities, from teachers, being a teacher on the committee, being a principal on the committee, being the superintendent on the committee, and now being the chief operations officer, now the commissioner nominee on the committee. But this time, it's different. This time, it's going to be a reality.
Okay, beautiful. Because I think we have to contextualize for people what it means to be a high school student
on St. John,
living in Coral Bay. Let's use that example. Not just St. John. If you live in Cruz Bay, you could just hop the boat.
Correct.
But tell them if you live in Coral Bay,
I live in
what
Coral Bay,
happens?
and I did travel to Ivana Udaraken High School for my high school years. And so where I lived, we had to get up at 4:30 to get ready to catch the bus. And the bus had to make several stops before it got to the boat. And then we would take the boat for 20 minutes and then walk to school for 10 and do that all over again every single day. So for me, I know what it feels like. And I really want us to do better in the services that we offer to our students from St. John. And so I am very excited to be a part of this process.
And you're so right, because it's to expect a child
It's a lot.
to wake up at 4:30 to go to school
It's a lot.
and still be active and in tune and attentive for an entire school day. That's a lot to ask.
Yes.
We're going to talk a little bit more with our Commissioner of Education nominee, but we're going to take a short break. Please continue to stay with us. We have some more exciting information to share with you. Thank you.
Severe weather can strike anytime, anywhere, but there's a simple way to stay safe. Hey, Jim Cantore here. I stay safe in dangerous weather by planning ahead. You can stay safe too with a few easy steps. Build an inexpensive kit with supplies for your family's needs. Write down important information like phone numbers and medications. Always talk with your family, and remember any pets in your planning. Be ready, be safe. Start your plan today at ready.gov/plan.
Blessings, and we're excited because it's that time again. It's time for the 2022-2023 school year. We're calling all dads, we're calling all fathers, we're calling all male role models. Bring your child to school on August 8th for their first day. I plan to be there for my daughter and for my son. Enjoy and have a wonderful and blessed school year. Let's go males! Can do with it.
Thank you for staying with us for our conversation with Education Commissioner nominee, Dr. Dion Wells Hedrington. Dr. Hedrington, I wanted to just talk a little bit about COVID-19.
Okay.
I think because we're not masking everywhere, because in so many instances the protocols have been relaxed, a lot of us have forgotten that it still is an issue and will be particularly an issue for you as you bring all of these young people back to school. So tell us a little about the preparation for dealing with COVID-19.
So we still have the protocols in place, the sanitizing stations, the bottled water filling station, the hand washing stations. All of those things are still on our campuses. But because we are in an endemic, the protocols have been relaxed. And so it's optional for students to wear masks. And so I want to say to parents, if you're not comfortable for whatever reason, have your child wear a mask. That is your option, your decision. We cannot mandate it, but you surely can send your child to school with those precautions if that's what you desire. In terms of mass testing, it would be isolated cases that would be reported to Department of Health. There's going to be very minimal contact tracing, and so it's really relaxed. I know one question was whether we would be giving COVID vaccines. We don't give any vaccines. That's the Department of Health. But we will do our due diligence to keep our students as separated as we can, to ensure that they're properly washing their hands and doing the different safety protocols that we've been doing for the past 6 months.
Okay, great. What about the sports? Any particular?
So I am excited that we are going back into our sports and our seasons. Actually, we're picking up with the volleyball season as soon as we open, and so we're full-fledged into our sports. I think our students need that outlet. Our students need to get back into that physical aspect of learning and experiencing different things. So we are full-fledged into our sporting arena.
Okay, excellent. Now I wanted to, we've been monitoring the feedback since we're live on so many different platforms. And so there are a couple of questions that have come in, and I just wanted to address them because we talked about the teacher shortage, the challenge of these late resignations, and one person online wanted to know what we can do to streamline the process. Apparently the thought is that it takes too long to bring people on board. Any comment on that?
Good question, and it's something that I have on my to-do list. I have to be quite honest, I've been out of that side of things for some time, and I know we've upgraded our systems in our human resources department, so I really need to see what process they're talking about to see where we could possibly streamline if needed.
Okay. And then we had two very specific questions relating to two schools. And one is asking about lunch at Claudomarco. Could you comment on that? How is that going to be
most definitely.
handled?
So Claudomarco is one of our first schools that we are doing extensive upgrades in their kitchen to include code upgrades, industry standards, plumbing, electrical, the whole 9 yards. I was very disappointed when we put out the scope of work for Claudomarco for 30 days and no one bid on that project. I had conversations with Commissioner Thomas and asked him to relax us putting it out to bid again for just 15 days. We did that and we had one response. And so we're now going through the contractual process. So whether our children will eat, our children will always eat. We have in place schools that satellite to our schools that don't have operable kitchens as yet. And our hope throughout the school year is to get those kitchens up and running.
Okay. So they want me to keep your feet to the fire with Claudomarco.
You could keep it to the fire. That one is good. We did put out Eulalie at the same time, and no one bid on Eulalie the second time.
As well.
So it's a challenge with contractors.
Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
And the second school was Eudora Ken. Apparently there's some issue with the roof.
It's an eyesore.
Okay.
It's an eyesore, but we had to make sure that we were following FEMA guidelines. That school has not been costed yet, so any repairs that we do to that facility have to fall within the guidelines of the FEMA requirements. We don't want to jeopardize any funding that we could get for that particular site. So currently, our engineer is scoping that out with the assistance of our Widow Bryant partners to make sure that what we're doing falls within those guidelines. So we should have that completed at least, if not by December, by the new year for sure.
Okay, so just to make sure, you say it's an eyesore, so that means that
so what we're doing now, we just know
nobody's
in that building. So what we're doing is bringing down the galvanized, but we want to temporarily put something that could serve kind of temporary, permanent, until we do the major repairs.
Okay. So, you know, we could talk for a very long time.
Yes.
But it seems as if our hour is coming to a close.
Yes.
And we didn't even get to talk about the fact that I like papaya. I'll eat
Well,
papaya.
you know how I feel.
But papaya is actually her favorite fruit.
My favorite fruit. Yes.
Thank you for coming
you.
on and sharing with us your thoughts about education. We should do another show, but now I'm going to give you an opportunity to just make some closing remarks for our audience as we close out this segment.
So I just want to thank you, Lieutenant Governor Roach, for the opportunity to be here with you. I totally enjoyed our conversation. As you know, I enjoy you. I am very excited for the possibilities for the Department of Education as we move forward. My passion is education.
Beautiful.
My mission field is education. Children are my business. And so I just want to assure the public that I will do whatever I have to do to make sure that the conditions within our facilities are where they should be, that teaching and learning is taking place, that our students are receiving the best quality education possible, that our teachers and instructional staff, paraprofessionals, everybody has what they need in order to do their jobs effectively. Happy people make happy children. And our goal is to have happy, well-educated children in our public education system. So I want to thank you for the opportunity. I want to thank the whole Department of Education for their work, and we just look forward to a positive school year.
Well, I'm excited, and I wish you the best. I wish us the best.
Yes.
You made a reference to the vaccine and the health department. I just wanted to make sure that the audience knows that the COVID vaccine is now available for children 6 months to 4 years old.
Okay.
And you can call the Department of Health to schedule a vaccine, again, towards making sure that students are prepared to go back to school. And we thank you for watching with us, and we invite you to come back to the Press Box when it airs next. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a
Commissioner
wonderful
nominee.
evening. Yes.
We look forward to great things.
Yes.